āsthitaḥ paramādvaitaṃ mokṣārthe'pi vyavasthitaḥ āścaryaṃ kāmavaśago vikalaḥ keliśikṣayā. udbhūtaṃ jñānadurmitramavadhāryātidurbalaḥ āścaryaṃ kāmamākāṅkṣetkālamantamanuśritaḥ. We have combined verse 6 and 7 in today's satsang because the essence is the same in both, though the situation is different. Verse number 6. It is strange indeed that one abiding in the transcendent non-duality and set for the goal of liberation should yet come under the sway of lust and distraught by his sexual habits. Chinmaya writes, the smothering hammer of ridicule is mercilessly laid upon the student, blow after blow delivered by his teacher. The humble student, in utter silence, maintains his inner balance as he discovers a deeper assurance in his heart provided by his own wisdom. As a king living his normal householder's life, fulfilling his duty towards his queens, how can Janaka continue living in the palace when he is abiding within himself in the transcendental non-dual self? How can he indulge in sex and derive out of it the normal pleasure of a man of a body consciousness when he claims that he is in a different plane of spiritual experience in himself? Okay, this is about a householder's life living with his queens. The next verse talks about the same habits and requirements at an older age, where Acharya translates, strange it is that knowing sex to be an enemy of knowledge, even a man who has grown extremely weak and has reached his last days should yet desire for sex gratifications. Commentary. Evidently, Janaka was not a young man when he approached Ashtavakra. All hungers of the flesh produce storms of restlessness and agitations in the mind. A restless mind is never available for the pursuits of the spiritual life. And every spiritual student knows that sex is an enemy to knowledge. If the student is young, at least his youthfulness itself can plead for him an excuse. But Janaka has grown old and is approaching his last phase in life. Yet, his life apparently shows that he is still anxious for his gratifications, as he is continuing his life as a king amidst lavish sensuous objects of pleasure. Is this self-realization, or does it betray an utter spiritual ignorance and base worldly delusions? These are the attacks by the teacher upon his king disciple. So, in the verse 6, the king is being taunted by the Āścarya for living with his queens and indulging in intimacy with them, whereas, as the one who has transcended all duality and is existing as self, one cannot have body consciousness and therefore can never have physical desires at all. In the next verse, 7th verse, the teaching goes to the next level, where the Āścarya sees his disciple Janaka as an old person and relatively weaker. Hence, the Guru is asking, should you, even at this age, have physical desires? For novice sadhakas or sadhakas who believe in happy married life and do not see the physical desires and intimacy in their grahastha life as something wrong, these verses may come as a shocking and not so welcome verses. We should, however, see these verses and in fact this entire treatise, Ashtavakra Gita, as a dialogue between a realized master and his realized disciple. And when the theme and the background is post-realization abidance in self, then there is no question of worldly pleasures or physical desires at that state. And of course, this treatise is meant only for very advanced seekers. After they have gone through the Prakarana Granthas and travelled through the Bhagavad Gita and touched upon some main Upanishads and engaged in very serious nididhyasana towards the goal of self-realization. Those who have not reached that serious level may take these verses with a discount. They can bypass these verses instead of being critical about it. And he knows none of you is going to go back to the karma sessions just because he is telling this. But since it comes as a flow, he has to mention this, that in the karma session, the four purusharthas of dharma, artha, kama, moksha, especially dharma and artha, kama and artha, they have been aligned with the four ashramas: brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa, where the dimension of artha, kama, dharma changes as one progresses from one ashrama to the next ashrama. In that, it has been clearly explained as, even as householders, grahasthas, how one has to prepare themselves for the third stage of vanaprastha. How they have to approach the purushartha. It has been given very clearly in the karma sessions available in YouTube. It is his duty to say this, though none of you may sincerely listen, go back to the session. Right? Now, the commentary, whatever is being shared is at that level, that highest level in the spiritual sadhana. Just standing at the moksha dwar, just waiting for that time, that moment of realization. At that level, the commentary follows now. If at all a spiritual person who has progressed far on the path of liberation reverts to worldly ways, it is because either his transformation or purification is incomplete, or he may not have fully resolved his desires, attachments, and worldly ways. If a person fails or stumbles for any reason, he can still hope to achieve liberation by continuing his practice from where he left, either in this life or in the next. At times, spiritual experiences can be self-induced or imagined due to desires and impurities or due to self-fulfilling prophecies. Our minds can play tricks upon our hopes and aspirations, since they are difficult to be restrained or stabilized. On the path of liberation, knowledge is helpful, but certain types of knowledge may interfere with one's progress. Intellectual knowledge can often be a hindrance, since it can induce rigidity, resistance, and pride. One on the path of liberation should remain on guard and keep a constant vigil upon one's thinking and actions. Ashtavakra left many hints in this chapter for spiritual seekers to review their vulnerabilities and ascertain their progress. For spiritual seekers, sexual desire is the most difficult problem to overcome in their sadhana. It is a major impediment in engaging the mind in the contemplation of God, and it pulls away from God and puts the seeker into body-centric orientation. Buddha was haunted by Mara's maidens before he received enlightenment. Sage Vishwamitra was enchanted by the beauty of Menaka when Indra sent her to distract him from his austerities, which he had been practicing for a long time to become a Brahma Rishi. On many occasions, Indra used the mind's vulnerability to sexual desire as a weapon to distract humans as well as demons from pursuing their spiritual goals to achieve perfection and the right to rule the heavens. Manmadha tried to use it on Shiva and became a target of Shiva's intense wrath. Lord Vishnu used it after the churning of the oceans to enthrall the demons and deny them their share of the Amrita. Why Vanaprastha is prescribed? The forest environment is conducive to stabilize the mind and experience peace and equanimity. There, the distractions are much less and opportunities to engage the mind in contemplation are more. It was for this reason that our seers, sages and yogis prefer to live in forests, to practice austerities and attain self-realization. To summarize, physical desire is very strong and it can affect anyone at any level up to the moment of self-realization. It is easy to say that one must control such urges, but given the human body and its needs, it is extremely difficult to control the physical urge. Up to the middle age, one may have their physical needs met with their spouses in a regulated manner to the extent required, not excessive. This may be one of the pursuits under Kama, but not the only pursuit in human life. As one goes past the middle age, one has to limit such desires even as a householder, gradually reduce the same and channelize the energy towards spiritual sadhana. The more one is sincere and serious in one's spiritual goal, the easier it is to channelize their physical desires, their energy towards the chosen path, in the chosen path, towards the chosen goal. Even with all austerities, when and if the physical urge crops up, it has to be tamed at that very instant by engaging in deep meditation, asserting to ourselves that I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am not this jiva, I am self, I am divine. We heard of the expression Muni in a recent verse. Maunam is not only to speak less, but it is all the more important to silence our body, our physical desires, which is possible only when we silence our mind, as well, and rush towards God, rush towards spiritual goal. In the depth of the silence of body, silence of mind, and then comes the silence of speech. Hari Om Tat Sat.